The invincible predators. The galaxy was old, filled with thousands of civilizations, but one name was always spoken with fear. They were known as the Predators. Their ships were larger, their claws sharper, and their armies endless. For centuries, they had ruled the stars. Every world they entered became theirs. Every species they faced was broken. No one dared to resist them. The Predators carried a simple belief. No species could ever challenge them. It was not just pride. It was their history. From the icy moons of the outer rim to the burning suns of the central worlds, the Predators had always won. Victory was their nature, and defeat was something they had never known. In the dark council chambers of the Predator Empire, leaders sat around a table carved from the bones of defeated creatures. The High Commander growled, "Another world has fallen. The weak surrendered without a fight." The others laughed. To them, conquest was no longer war. It was routine. It was a game. But among the endless victories, small whispers began to move through the galaxy. Rumors of a strange species. They did not have massive claws, or armored scales, or deadly fangs. They were small compared to the Predators. Their bodies fragile, yet they carried fire in their eyes. They called themselves humans. At first, the Predators ignored the name. To them, humans were just another species waiting to kneel. "They will fall like the rest," one commander said with a grin. But some scouts brought back reports that made the council pause. On the far edges of space, Predator ships had met human fleets. The humans had not fled. They had not begged for mercy. They had fought. A young Predator officer stood before the council and gave his report. His voice shook, not from fear of his leaders, but from what he had seen. "My lords, they fight differently. They use tricks, traps with strange machines. They fight even when defeat is certain. And when one of them falls, another rises." The council chamber grew silent. For the first time in ages, they heard of resistance that did not break. The High Commander bared his fangs and snarled, "No species challenges us. Send a fleet. Crush them before others grow bold." The first Predator fleet was prepared quickly. Hundreds of warships, black as shadows, armed with weapons that had ended countless civilizations. The Predators were confident. They believed the humans would fall in a single strike. On the day of battle, the Predator ships entered human space. The commanders sat in their thrones, laughing as they watched the small human vessels appear on their screens. "Pathetic," one said. "This will be over before it begins." But then something unexpected happened. The humans did not retreat. They moved fast, faster than predicted. Their ships were smaller, but more agile, darting like sparks of fire. The Predators fired their heavy weapons, but the humans slipped through the blasts. Suddenly, the humans attacked from behind, striking at weak points no one had ever touched before. The Predators were shocked. "Impossible," the High Commander growled. But the impossible was happening. One by one, Predator ships exploded. The humans did not fight like prey. They fought like hunters. Far away, other species watched through secret transmissions. They could not believe what they saw. For generations, they had lived under the shadow of the Predators. Now, for the first time, they saw the Predators bleed. Inside the flagship, the Predator High Commander stood and slammed his fist against the metal table. "This is only luck. Crush them." But deep inside, a seed of doubt had been planted. The humans kept fighting. Even when outnumbered, they did not stop. Even when surrounded, they found ways to escape and strike again. It was as if their minds worked differently, as if they saw paths and strategies no other species had seen before. Hours passed, and the Predator fleet, once so confident, began to falter. Flames spread across their vessels. Commanders shouted in anger and disbelief. For the first time in living memory, the Predators faced resistance they could not instantly break. The battle ended not with human defeat, but with Predator retreat. Only half the Predator fleet returned home. Silence filled the council chamber when the survivors reported what had happened. No one laughed this time. The High Commander stared into the darkness and spoke in a low, dangerous voice. They are not prey. They are something else. But we will end them. Still, in the shadows of the galaxy, a truth had already been born. The predators were not invincible anymore. A new force had entered the war, a force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. And that force was humanity. Asterisk. The human defiance. The predator empire could not accept what had happened. For the first time in history, their fleet had been forced to retreat. To them, this was unthinkable. Defeat belonged to others, not to predators. Yet the reports from the surviving commanders were clear. Humanity had stood against them, and worse, humanity had won. In the dark council chamber, anger burned like fire. Commanders roared, demanding punishment for the weak, blaming officers for mistakes. But beneath all the noise, one truth echoed. In every mind, humans were different. The High Commander rose, his shadow stretching across the chamber walls. They believe they can resist us, he growled. Then we will show them what true war is. He ordered a second fleet, larger and stronger than the first, to crush the humans. But humanity was already preparing. On Earth and across their colonies, humans did not celebrate their first victory for long. They knew the predators would return, with greater force. Engineers worked day and night building ships with new designs. Soldiers trained harder, their faces carrying both fear and determination. Ordinary citizens gathered supplies, ready to fight in any way they could. The predators believed humans were weak because of their size, their fragile bodies, their short lifespans. But what the predators did not understand was humanity's spirit. When pressed against the wall, humans did not surrender. They adapted, they evolved, they became stronger. Admiral Reyes, leader of the human fleet, stood before his officers in the war room. The holographic map glowed with predator movements. They are coming, he said calmly. Stronger, faster, angrier. But we will not meet them with fear. We will meet them with fire. His voice echoed, steady and sharp. Every soldier in the room stood taller. The second invasion began. The predators entered human space with twice as many ships as before. Their war drums thundered across the stars. They were certain this time would be different. The first clash came near the asteroid belt of Sol. Predator warships moved in like a storm, heavy and confident. But the humans had laid traps. Asteroids rigged with hidden explosives detonated as predator ships entered the field. The explosions tore through their lines, scattering their formation. Predator commanders roared, in rage. Cowards, they used tricks, not strength. But those tricks cost them dozens of ships before the battle had even begun. Then the human fleet appeared, smaller but organized. Their ships moved as one, weaving in and out of the debris field, striking with precision. Every attack hit, where the predators were weakest. The predators fired their massive cannons, but again the humans slipped away using speed and coordination the predators had never seen. From their flagship, the Predator High Commander watched the battle unfold, his claws dug into the metal chair. They are not fighting like prey, he muttered. They are fighting like hunters. The battle raged on for hours. Human ships were destroyed, but each one bought time. Each one dealt damage. Each one forced the predators to fight harder. The humans fought with a desperation the predators could not understand. One predator officer shouted, "They should be broken by now. Why do they not flee?" The High Commander's eyes narrowed. He finally understood the truth. Humans did not fight only for survival. They fought for something far greater, for their families, their freedom, their future. And that kind of fight was harder to kill. On the human flagship, Admiral Reyes stood firm, giving orders with calm precision. Hold the line. Cut their supply routes. Make them bleed for every inch. His crew obeyed without question. Slowly, the battle began to turn. Predator ships fell one after another, their great power useless against human cunning. But the victory came at a cost. Human losses were heavy. Whole squadrons were gone, ships burned in silence, drifting across the void. Yet even in loss, humans stood defiant. At the final moment of the battle, as the Predator fleet tried to regroup, humanity struck with one last move. A hidden wave of fighters launched from the dark side of a moon, ambushing the Predators from behind. The Predator flagship itself took damage, something no one had ever imagined possible. The Predators roared in fury and shame. For the second time, they were forced to retreat. Across the galaxy, word spread like wildfire. The Predators, once thought invincible, had now been defeated twice. By humans. The weak species from a small blue planet had done what no one else dared. In secret corners of space, enslaved civilizations whispered a single word with new hope. Humanity. The Predator. High Commander stood in silence as his ship limped back to their empire. His mind burned with rage, but also with something he had never felt before. Doubt. He turned to his generals and spoke with a cold, dangerous tone. If they want war, then we will give them war. No more games. No more underestimating. Humanity will learn fear. But deep inside, even the Predators could feel it. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the storm that would change the galaxy. The rising shock. The galaxy trembled with whispers. The Predators had been defeated not once but twice. Civilizations that had lived in chains for generations looked toward the stars with new hope. They asked the same question again and again. Who are these humans? In hidden marketplaces, in secret halls of conquered worlds, slaves spoke softly about the battles. They spoke of small ships moving like fireflies, of cunning traps hidden in stone, of predators bleeding for the first time. In centuries, the word spread faster than light. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was something new. But while hope grew across the stars, fear grew in the Predator Empire. Their pride was shattered. Their image of invincibility cracked. The High Council gathered, once more in the Chamber of Bones. Shadows moved across their armored faces. One elder Predator hissed, "This cannot be allowed. If others see us fall, they will rise." Another commander growled, "Then we must end humans quickly, before the galaxy turns against us." The High Commander slammed his claws against the table. "We underestimated them twice. That mistake ends now. Send the Grand Armada." The Grand Armada was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. Thousands of warships, each larger, than cities, moved toward human space. Their weapons glowed with power strong enough to split moons. The Predators were ready to erase humanity completely. But humanity was ready too. On Earth, the skies were filled with new ships, born of desperate invention. Engineers worked with speed no one thought possible. They turned scrap into weapons, silence into strategy. Soldiers stood taller than ever, their hearts burning with defiance. Admiral Reyes looked at the holographic map of the incoming armada. His officers waited in silence, their faces pale. The size of the Predator fleet was overwhelming. For a moment, even the bravest felt doubt. But Reyes spoke with calm steel. "We are not fighting for glory. We are not fighting for empire. We are fighting for the right to live. And no armada, no matter how strong, can take that spirit from us." The humans prepared defenses across every colony. Mines were hidden in asteroid fields. Stealth ships waited in the darkness. Civilian fleets, once simple cargo ships, were armed with weapons and ready to fight. Humanity did not stand alone. Every man, woman, and child carried the weight of survival. The Predators entered human space like a storm. The sight of their Grand Armada filled the skies with fire. Alien observers watching from the shadows felt their hope collapse. How could humans survive this? The first clash was brutal. Predator warships fired beams that shattered human vessels in seconds. Dozens of ships exploded, lighting the void with flames. The Predators roared in victory. To them, this was how the war should always be. Quick, merciless, one-sided. But then, the humans struck back. From behind asteroid shadows, hidden fleets emerged. Waves of small, fast ships darted into Predator lines, targeting engines, striking weak points, and vanishing before counterfire could land. Mines exploded, cutting through Predator formations. The chaos spread. Predator commanders shouted in confusion. Why do they not fight directly? Why do they run and return like shadows? Because humans had learned the truth of war. Strength was not enough. Strategy, courage, and adaptation were greater weapons. The battle grew longer than the predators expected. Hours turned into days. Their massive armada began to fracture under endless human resistance. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, enslaved worlds tuned in to forbidden broadcasts of the war. They saw humans refusing to kneel. They saw predators losing ships by the thousands. For the first time, alien species who had lived in chains felt the spark of rebellion. Whispers turned into plans. If humans can resist, so can we. But within the Predator flagship, rage burned hotter than ever. The High Commander watched as another warship exploded. His claws tore into the chair. Enough games. Bring the storm cannon online. Burn their world to ash. The storm cannon was a weapon of legend, used only once in the Empire's history. It had destroyed an entire planet in minutes. The order to use it meant the Predators were desperate. On the human flagship, Admiral Reyes received the intelligence. His officers turned pale. One whispered, "If that weapon fires, Earth itself will burn." Reyes stood in silence, staring at the glowing map. His voice, when it came, was calm but heavy. "Then we stop them, no matter the cost." The galaxy held its breath. Humanity stood at the edge of destruction. The Predators were ready to unleash their ultimate weapon. But in the shadows, something even greater was coming. Something that would shock the galaxy more than any battle before. Humanity's turning point. The Predator storm cannon charged, its core glowing like a dying star. Every ship in their grand armada turned to watch. Legends said this weapon could turn oceans to fire, mountains to dust, and planets to silence. And now it was aimed at Earth. Across the galaxy, enslaved races who had begun to hope fell quiet. If Earth was destroyed, humanity would be finished. The Predators would rise again, stronger than ever, their fearsome image restored. Inside the human flagship, alarms blared. Red light filled the command deck. Admiral Reyes stood at the center, his jaw tight. "If that cannon fires, we lose everything," his officer whispered. Reyes nodded slowly. His eyes were cold, but his voice was steady. "Then we will not let it fire." The order was given. Every human ship, every fighter, every drone turned toward the Predator flagship. They would throw everything at the monster before it could unleash its strike. The Predators laughed when they saw the smaller ships rushing forward. "They dare attack us head-on? Fools!" The High Commander bared his fangs. "Let them come. Their bones will decorate our halls." The humans struck. Waves of fighters darted through Predator fire, weaving like sparks of lightning. Larger ships moved behind them, blasting weak points in the Predator's shields. Each human ship fought as if it carried the whole weight of Earth. The Predator armada fired back with fury. Human vessels exploded one after another. Yet for every ship lost, two more charged forward. Even cargo ships armed with improvised cannons flew into the firestorm. Humanity refused to break. Then the storm cannon reached full charge. Its core burned so bright that even distant planets saw the light. The High Commander raised his claw. Fire! But before the cannon could release, a swarm of human fighters slammed into its surface. They were too small to destroy it, but they targeted its vents, its weak spots, its unstable joints. Explosions rattled the giant weapon. The Predator crew roared in alarm. "They're breaching the cannon systems." Inside the weapon chamber itself, a group of human Marines had already boarded through a desperate assault. Smoke filled the air. Alarms screamed, and the Marines fought claw to claw against Predator guards. One soldier, badly wounded, crawled to the control panel. His blood stained the floor, but his hand still moved. With his last breath, he pulled the trigger, not to fire the cannon, but to overload it. The storm cannon shook violently. The Predators shouted in panic, "It's unstable, shut it down." But it was too late. The weapon detonated from within, a burst of light tearing through the Predator flagship. Shockwaves spread across the battlefield. The mighty ship, symbol of Predator dominance, broke apart piece by piece, consumed by fire. For the first time in their long history, the Predators watched their greatest weapon and their flagship fall in flames. The galaxy erupted in shock. Hidden watchers sent messages across space. The Predators were not only defeated, they were humiliated. On the human flagship, silence filled the command deck. The crew stared at the burning remains of the Predator ship. Admiral Reyes stood tall, his voice low but firm. Remember this moment. We are not prey, we are not weak. Today humanity turned the tide. The humans cheered, even as tears filled their eyes for the comrades they had lost. But the Predators were not finished. Though their flagship was gone, their armada still outnumbered the human fleet. The High Commander, furious and desperate, sent orders to destroy every human ship, no matter the cost. The battle continued with savage intensity. Both sides bled. Space was littered with wreckage, the corpses of machines and warriors drifting silently. Yet something had changed. The Predators, once certain of their invincibility, now fought with doubt. They had seen humans destroy their greatest weapon. They had seen humans sacrifice everything without hesitation, and that terrified them more than the explosions around them. Across the galaxy, rebellion flared. On conquered worlds, slaves rose up, striking at Predator outposts. The news of the storm cannon's destruction spread like fire, igniting courage where there had only been fear. The Predators had wanted to show the galaxy their power. Instead, they had shown the galaxy their weakness. As the battle raged on, Admiral Reyes knew this was more than survival. This was history. Humanity was no longer just fighting for Earth. Humanity was fighting for every enslaved race, for every silenced voice, for the freedom of the galaxy. He turned to his officers. Hold the line. This is our turning point. We don't just fight for ourselves. We fight for everyone who cannot. And with those words, humanity pressed forward into the storm, ready to finish what they had started. The war that changed the galaxy. The galaxy burned with chaos. The Predator armada still filled the stars, their numbers overwhelming, but the destruction of their storm cannon had changed everything. The Predators were shaken, their pride wounded, their certainty broken. Humanity had done what no one thought possible. On the human flagship, Admiral Reyes stood at the center of the war room. His face was tired, but his eyes burned with fire. "This is our chance," he said. "They are bleeding, they are afraid. If we strike now, we can end this war." The officers looked at one another, their expressions hard. They had lost countless ships, thousands of lives. But none hesitated. Humanity would not stop now. Across the Predator fleet, confusion spread. The High Commander barked orders, his voice filled with rage. Crush them, destroy their world, show them no mercy. But even his own officers felt doubt. For the first time, their invincible empire trembled. The final battle began. Human ships surged forward, their movements sharp and precise. They no longer fought just for survival. They fought for victory. Fighters darted through Predator fire, striking engines and tearing apart command bridges. Larger ships rammed into Predator vessels, exploding in blinding flashes that broke the enemy lines. Predator ships returned fire with brutal force. Human fleets were ripped apart. Colonies left, burning. The sky was a graveyard of metal and flame, but still, the humans pressed on. Then something unexpected happened. Signals came from distant stars. At first, Admiral Reyes thought it was interference, but then the voices became clear. "This is the Terran resistance," a voice said. "We rise with you. This is the Vayari uprising. We will not kneel again." One by one, across the galaxy, enslaved species joined the fight. Small fleets, hidden for centuries, emerged from the shadows. They were weak compared to Predator warships, but together they became a storm. The Predators were struck from all sides. What had begun as a war between Predators and humans had become a war for the freedom of the galaxy. The High Commander watched in fury as reports flooded in. Outposts destroyed, supply lines cut, entire worlds rising in rebellion, his claws dug into the table. It is the humans. They poisoned the galaxy with hope. On the battlefield, Admiral Reyes knew this was the moment. Push forward, he ordered. Break their heart, end this. The human fleet cut straight toward the Predator flagship. The battle was savage. Ships on both sides exploded in waves of fire. The human flagship shook under the impact of enemy fire. Alarms screaming. Reyes stood firm. Focus on their flagship. Without it, their fleet will break. The Predator flagship was a monster of metal, its guns tearing through attackers. But the humans did not stop. Fighters swarmed its defenses, opening gaps in its armor. Human battleships charged in, unleashing everything they had left. Finally, a human cruiser, burning and broken, rammed straight into the Predator flagship. The explosion tore a hole wide enough for fire to pour through. The Predator High Commander staggered as the deck shook. Flames roared behind him. His officers shouted in panic. For the first time in his life, he tasted fear. The human fleet unleashed their final strike. Missiles, beams, and fire rained upon the Predator flagship until it cracked and split apart. The ship that symbolized Predator dominance for centuries was gone. When the flagship fell, the Predator fleet broke. Ships scattered, commanders fled, and the once invincible empire crumbled before the eyes of the galaxy. Silence filled the stars. The war was over. On the human flagship, cheers erupted. Soldiers hugged, tears streaming down their faces. Messages poured in from across the galaxy. Worlds freed, chains broken, hope restored. Admiral Reyes stood at the window, staring at the stars. His voice was quiet, but filled with pride. Remember this day. Humanity did not just survive. Humanity changed the galaxy. Across conquered worlds, monuments of predators were torn down. Fires of rebellion turned into lights of freedom. Species who had once feared the predators now spoke a new word with reverence. Humanity. But among the predator survivors, whispers spread. They are not prey, one broken commander muttered. They are the storm. They are the future. The war had ended, but the galaxy was forever different. Humanity, once ignored, once underestimated, now stood as a force that none could deny. They had defeated the predators. They had turned fear into hope. And the galaxy would never forget the day humanity changed everything.